I don't know really. I realised that I'd developed a problem with alcohol in the summer of 2017. I couldn't go more than 2 or 3 days without needing to drink and having proper withdrawals where I couldn't think of anything else. I was just dependent on it to be like a happier person or just to have some sort of little emotion. So I ended up drinking because my friend passed away and I really struggled to cope with it. So I found that the only way to deal with the way I was feeling was to drink and ignore it. I didn't feel like there were many physical consequences to my drinking, but mentally there were some where I just couldn't speak to anyone, I just couldn't cope. So I ended up just skipping classes, skipping just anything really. I just couldn't cope and didn't know how to speak out about it. And it made me very depressed and isolated, which meant that I couldn't speak to anybody. Nobody seemed to notice it until September of 2017, where the school started to notice that I was having a lot more absences, and when I was turning up I wasn't looking as I should, or I wasn't performing as well as I should have, and then they started speaking to me more and deciding what was the best help for me. The support I received was through the school and through various counselling services. So the school gave me access to an alcohol support group that I was able to talk about how I was feeling and how to regulate my emotions better and how to reduce my intake of alcohol. Because I didn't necessarily reach out for support, I didn't find it too hard, but once I had the support I found it was a lot easier to reduce my alcohol intake and just learn how to speak about my emotions. Family and friends wise, there was never really any sort of troubles. They were more supportive than anything, just trying to get me the help that I needed and just trying to get me better and learning how to talk more openly. I haven't drank solely based on emotions since probably about 2017, because I found different ways to regulate my emotion and just to look at different ways to cope instead of instantly going back to bad habits. I have thought that I would struggle with my alcohol problems, but I've not struggled as much as I thought. In the first semester of university I struggled with it because I'd gone from not drinking anything at all to suddenly being involved in heavy drinking culture where every night it was expected to go out and drink, and I found myself slipping more and more back into that problem of feeling sad, so having a drink and disguising it with going out and having fun. I had to hide sometimes how much that I've drank, but never too much, because in teen culture it seems to be the more you drink, the more higher status you are. So I usually didn't hide it as much and tried to pass off as a fun time more than what it actually was, which was a bit of a sad time. I think that within the university, alcohol isn't really addressed. If you look at the SU and places like that, there's no photos, there's no posters addressing alcohol. It's more to do with spiking culture, which is related to alcohol, but there's no real alcohol support groups that are listed anywhere. There's no helplines for alcohol. So I feel like the uni doesn't really address this effectively. I mean, I know provide support services, but they're not really advertised anywhere or made easy to access for students. I feel like it's somewhere they could go further in helping students with, but I think it's something that they need to work on. I don't think there is a strong presentation of alcohol in the media either way, to be honest. I think in some portrayals in movies it's shown as a thing to have a good time and a symbol of power and wealth, but I don't really think that translates to real life. But on the other side of things, I feel like anything provided by the government is just enforcing the idea that alcohol's bad and that people should be careful with how much they're drinking. But I think as long as everything's taken into moderation and people are careful with what they do, there isn't an overall presentation in the media of it. I think it's just how everybody interprets it in their own head. But overall, I don't think there's a certain stigma against alcohol.